Let us pray. O God, as you seek out those who are lost and lonely, find us. As we live in your loving presence, lead us to ultimate joy and freedom. May this good news stir our great desire to seek you and your ways. Amen. Luke 15 is one of my favorite chapters in all of the Gospels. And it's talking about finding what is lost and how what is lost will be restored. The lost sheep, the lost coin, the lost son. The simple act of seeking is what brings hope. Such saving love stirs us to respond and live into that hope. When have you experienced God's gifts of mercy and overflowing grace to the point that you felt you were found? I hope that you notice that these parables are very challenging. Because they're familiar, we tend to sort of gloss over them at times, but they are challenging. They are about a God of extravagance, a God who is audacious, a God who has very strange ways of being. I mean, do you remember last week we talked a little bit about reconciliation, and I mentioned about Joanna Adams, who in 1980, as part of the Presbyterian Church, had helped put together their statement of faith. And about the feedback they got about one line in the statement of faith, that when they were talking about how we are made one, or how we are atoned at one-ment with God, how we reconnect with God and are reconciled with God, that their line that they used was, "We deserve God's condemnation." And it went on to say why we were saved. Now, she said that line had all kinds of feedback. It was fierce feedback. So they tried again. "We deserve God's judgment." Same type of feedback. And then one of the suggestions, and the one that I like, is, well, some people deserve God's condemnation. But isn't that the context of these parables? The scribes and the Pharisees, and actually anyone who was listening to Jesus, would get it. He's eating with tax collectors and sinners. He's visiting the prison and the play shop, that ministry that just won't work because they're irredeemable. This fellow welcomes and eats with those that we know that God has written off, who God has condemned. That's the theology, that's the worldview that they are working under, and at times it is our worldview. Now, when Mark and I were talking about what we were going to do with the play shop, and we were looking at sort of examples, and I like that Mark helped me with the stuffed toy type of thing in terms of that might be a way that we could go. We looked at other things, but what he was really working from was a comment from one of his daughters, who basically said, what kind of an idiot would leave 99 sheep alone to be taken by the wolves to go find one? And that's exactly the point. Anyone hearing that parable at the time of Jesus would have responded that way. This shepherd is an idiot. Leaving 99 unprotected just to search for one lost, unredeemable sheep? That's radical. Or what about the woman who loses one coin and then finds it and then throws a party that probably cost 10 times more than the value of all the coins? Well, the answer again would be no one here. Or the lost son. And the story is about the father who is willing to embarrass himself, raise up his skirts, and run to his son and welcome him back and give away all the inheritance again. There's something different. And the people who were listening should have said, there's something really different. There's a dissonance here. This is not the way that we live. This is not what we believe. This is not what we have been taught. What is going on? What's this celebration for the one that is lost, for the one that we've been taught that you need to give up on? In terms of gospel, this is a defining moment. It invites a radical shift in cultural and theological assumptions about what it means to live in relationship with the one who is the source of all that has been, is, and will be. God, creator, father, mother, source of all life. It challenges our assumption of what it means to be a good shepherd. That means to be cautious, to look after all the sheep. To be good stewards, to be deserving, obedient children. But those assumptions are not the gospel. The gospel is about taking risk, about searching at great cost for all of God's children. And as we've heard so many times this summer, it's about making sure that we leave none of it on the field or on the water or on the mat, to use that sports analogy. Annie Dillard says something similar about writing, and I read this quote to you about a year ago, but it's a wonderful quote, so you're going to hear it again. One of the things I know about writing is this: spend it all, shoot it, play it, lose it all, right away every time. Do not hoard what seems good for later and place it in a book or in another book. Give it all, give it now. The impulse to save something good for the better place is placed later as a signal to spend it now. Something more will arise for later, something better. These things fill from behind, from beneath, like well water. Similarly, the impulse to keep to yourself what you have learned is not only shameful, it is destructive. Anything you do not give freely and abundantly becomes lost to you. You open your safe and find ashes. I wonder, isn't this what is happening in these parables? Everything is being left on the field in order to go find those for which the world has written off. For those who think, those who deserve least God's love, God's forgiveness, God's reconciliation. It's about a decade ago that we introduced the ambassador program to the church. The intent of the ambassador program was to focus on, and every Sunday we get half a dozen or so folks that just come in visiting either in the area or trying out a new church, or for whatever reason they come in, and we wanted to find a way to help integrate them into the life of the congregation, because we realize that in an age where we can't just assume that people have a background in church. So when you say sanctuary or pew or pulpit or any of those things, it's strange. So the ambassador program was meant to sort of walk with that person to help them be integrated into our congregational life. And we did get some feedback about it. And one of the pieces of feedback that we got, and we worked with it and did it, but it was disappointing to me at the time. And the feedback was, well, what about us? And the comment came from that sense is that you're opening up, you have this program that welcomes new people, bends over backwards in order to try to get them involved and to help them. What about us? What about the people who have been here the whole time? What are you doing for us? And we've addressed that, and we've done a variety of things. However, there was a piece of feedback that has stuck with me. How have we lived out these parables in our context? Well, one of the ways that we have done so is that we have intentionally shifted from introducing projects or programs that have as their goal bringing people into the church for the main event. The main event being worship on Sunday morning. At one time, that was what we did. Whether we offered a Bible study, whether we offered a cafe or whatever piece, it was to introduce people to the congregation and hopefully to bring them in to our worshiping life. And we have shifted from that being the primary goal to simply connecting with people, by simply being with people. And it doesn't matter whether the person ever comes to church or not. What matters is the connection. So we have focused on taking advantage of those opportunities for ministry within the community and the wider community with that expectation, that shift of expectation that it doesn't matter whether you come or not. And you know something? That takes a lot of pressure off. And we have found that we have built wonderful communities here that are defined more than just Sunday morning. And they are helping to redefine who we are as Grace. The Inclusion Club, Halifax Association for Community Living, opening ourselves up to startups, whether it's babysitting or using the kitchen. And the other startups that we have used, and they've come into our place and have moved on. They have evolved to another space for them. Dance, maps. And we are looking at our programs with Adults for Disabilities, the Community Oven, community projects, and the refugee piece of ways of connecting to the community. And even going so far as to use social media. Now, I'm not sure if 15 years ago or 10 years ago, if a minister had come and suggest, I want to do a sabbatical on using social media for a community engagement, I think there would have been a lot more questions raised. But that's what we have done. The All Candidates Forum, this partnership with the community in the face of poverty consultation, the blanket exercise. We are living out our call to be the church, creating and affirming community, creating a safe place, creating a mindset and a theology that sees it very, very important to find those who are marginalized, to find those who are struggling, to find those who are lost. And then inviting that relationship to change and transform us. I've said it many times. Our motto, Transforming Lives, is not about necessarily about transforming the lives of the people that we meet and we encounter. It's about transforming our lives. About transforming our lives as we are shaped by the gospel. I mean, we go out searching for lost sheep and the lost coin and the prodigal. I mean, even in the midst of tight budgets, we have continued to be a learning site for interns and for AST students, and that didn't come across right. You're not lost. I hope you know what I mean. We are leaving it all on the mission field. And as we redefine what it means to be church as a national structure, and one of the pieces is communities of faith. What community faith look like? It's about the mission field. It's about living and proclaiming and serving the one who always searches for those who are lost and always loves. Wonderful challenge for the next little while. Amen.